it's springtime. I've got some house wrens nesting in the backyard. Seen the cardinals pairing up. Pretty soon there'll be little ones. You know what that means. They'll be learning to fly with their little wings. They'll be eating up seeds and some bugs and things. Be learning to fly, learning to fly. Hello, and thanks for joining us today at our 5th annual Raptor Trust Community Day event, and this year, our first ever online and online only event. The Raptor Trust is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We're dedicated to the fulfillment of 3 primary missions. First, we provide free medical care and assistance to New Jersey's native wild birds when they need help. Second, we are advocates for the conservation and well-being of birds, raptors in particular, through our educational programs. And third, we strive to provide a humane example for the treatment of New Jersey's native wild birds. Our campus, located in Millington, New Jersey, is home to about 50 permanent resident birds. Most of the species of raptors that occur in the state live here with us. Hawks, owls, eagles, falcons, vultures, and a few others. All of those that live here are permanently injured in one way or another and cannot be released back into the wild. Our rehabilitation department handles as many as 6,000 birds a year, always with the goal of getting as many of them back into the wild where they belong as possible. We've handled over 150,000 birds since we began. Our rehab staff, our veterinary crew, our maintenance team, and our volunteers all work very, very hard on behalf of New Jersey's native wild birds. Founded in 1982 by Len and Diane Soucy, the Raptor Trust has a 38-year history of leadership in wildlife conservation and rehabilitation. The Raptor Trust receives no government assistance. We receive no federal or state grants, and we rely entirely on the generosity of our donors on events like this one and on our educational programs for the funding that allows us to fulfill our mission. We appreciate you being here today, and we hope you enjoy the event. Yeah, you can fade that last part out.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the Raptor Trust first ever Thank You for Not Coming Online Community Day. We are really disappointed to not be able to see you at the Sterling Hotel, show you some live birds, listen to some live music for a good cause, but we do look forward to when we can do it again. On the bright side, there's no need to pick out an outfit, find a babysitter, drive to the venue, or fight for parking because we've put together some videos, contests, and some behind-the-scenes look at the work here at the Raptor Trust. And the best part is you can enjoy it right from your couch. I'm so pleased to announce that thanks to the generosity of Jennifer and Lee Pearson, as well as some other longtime friends of the Raptor Trust, every dollar donated today via our website, Facebook, and our online silent auction will be matched up to $5,000. We hope that you will participate by donating now or bidding on an item in our silent auction so we can get to our $10,000 match. This was our first time hosting an online auction, and we're so pleased with how it's gone this weekend. We do still have some items on there, so please be sure to visit 32auctions.com/TRT. You get to online shop guilt-free because it all goes towards a good cause. The annual May event is so important because baby bird season starts ramping up. You might have even noticed some little ones in your backyard already. There's lots of reasons that we receive baby birds. For one thing, lots of people are doing yard work this time of year and that can disrupt the nests. Sometimes the parents are killed, which leaves the orphans unable to feed or defend themselves. Other times, birds just fall out of their nests and injure themselves. Whatever the case, we begin to receive hundreds of them, sometimes each week during the summer months, and that is in addition to the adult birds that our medical staff admit and treat during every season of the year, and that adds up to a lot of birds. We do take in and treat all native wild birds free of charge to the public while receiving zero state or federal funding. And we are able to help because you continue to help. And we appreciate that and are grateful for you every day. One last thing I'd like to add is that even before coronavirus, only 3% of all charitable giving went towards environmental organizations like the Raptor Trust. That number might seem low, and it is low, but I am inspired daily by what that 3% is capable of doing. This group of people, including supporters like yourself and organizations such as Woodlands Wildlife and Somerset County Parks, we all work together to rescue wildlife, to save important lands, to ensure the safety of our parks and our water supplies, and the list just goes on. So our group may make up a very small portion of all that charitable giving, but we are a very determined and committed group, and I'm proud to be part of this team, and I hope you are too. So for now, please enjoy the content we've put together for you today, participate in a contest, bid on an item, or go sign up on our email list at the Raptor Trust website. We're very happy to have you here today and hope you enjoy.
Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us. I've found a beautiful spot out here in the woods today to be my office, watching some thrushes and some catbirds play in the little stream nearby. And I don't need to go into all the reasons that we're doing this event online rather than in person. This is our 5th annual May event, which has traditionally been at the Sterling Hotel outside in their wonderful beer garden in the back with live music and an auction, and many of our community partners joining us, and we're just not able to do that this year for all of the reasons I won't go into. But if you've been to one of our events in the past, if you've been one of our sponsors, if you've donated items to our auction, if you've come and purchased an item at our auction, if you've enjoyed the live music, we really, really appreciate it. And we appreciate your being here today. It's a little bit of an experiment to try to figure out how to do this all online. We're kind of making it up as we go. So we appreciate your being here. Nature marches on and things are still busy at the Raptor Trust. We're closed to the public. You can't come and visit the birds right now. We thank you for not coming. You can't participate in an education program because there aren't any. We thank you for not having come to an education program with your school group or scout group. We thank you for not coming to the Sterling Hotel, but we do thank you for being here today. Our infirmary staff is still working really, really hard. It's busy. We have a lot of baby birds to care for, injured birds as well. Those poor guys don't know anything about what's going on in the human world. So we've instituted a lot of safety protocols at the Raptor Trust inside the infirmary, keeping things as safe as we possibly can. People are coming, they're able to drop off injured and orphan birds if they need to, and we're making that process safe with sort of no contact admit, and doing the best we can. So again, we appreciate your being here for the Raptor Trust. We're in our 36th year, but that's just since we incorporated. My folks and I moved to Millington in 1968, and I have pictures of my folks handling birds from even way before then. So this has been a long journey. So many of you guys have been a part of it with us. We really, really appreciate it. And without any further ado, let the bidding begin. Thanks, everyone.
Here is Kula, our resident great horned owl. He is 40 years old this year, which we believe might be a record for oldest great horned owl. He was looking forward to seeing everyone at his birthday party, which we unfortunately had to postpone. He is hanging here at the Raptor Trust, still doing very well. Not too happy that I've woken him up from his nap right now. But he is looking forward to having visitors back at the Trust again.
Hi, and welcome to Fireside Chats, our outdoor version of Fireside Chats at the Raptor Trust. My name is Sherry Stern, and I'm the Director of Education. Here with me today is Pepe. Pepe was brought to us in 2006 when she was in a car accident and subsequently sprayed by a skunk. Pepe is a red-tailed hawk, one of the most common hawks here in New Jersey and across the entire United States. They're named because of the rufous red color of those tail feathers. You can see her tail feathers displayed. You might also notice the droop on Pepe's left wing. That wing droop is a lasting injury from that car collision and is the reason that she is not releasable back into the wild. When Pepe was brought here, she had a fracture in that left wing. We did our best to fix it. However, it still did not heal properly, and because of that, she does not have the ability to fly distances or to really fly vertically off the ground. In her enclosure here at the Raptor Trust, we've provided her with ramps and low perches so that she is comfortable. However, in the wild, she would not be able to hunt for her food or protect herself from danger. Red-tailed hawks are fantastic parents, and right now is their breeding season. Many red-tailed hawks in New Jersey are currently sitting on eggs or have already hatched eggs and are feeding their chicks as we speak. Red-tailed hawks are fantastic hunters and super adaptable to lots of different environments. They're commonly found along roadways where you can spot them sitting on lampposts or wires looking for prey that might run across the road. They enjoy things like squirrels and chipmunks. You might also find them in cities. You could also find them in rural areas or circling above fields just... Oh, I'm so sorry. I think she did not expect that I would move my hand just then. My apologies, Pepe. I've offended her sensibilities. So Pepe, our red-tailed hawk, is one of our ambassador birds here at the Raptor Trust, and we use her story to explain to the public exactly how they are able to help. If you do see a bird on the side of the road or any type of bird that's in trouble, you can call us here at the Raptor Trust, and we'll talk you through exactly what to do in order to help that bird. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.
Hey fans of Raptor Trust, this is Rich Hoffman from the Environmental Education Center in Basking Ridge. I just want to say that I love the Raptor Trust. I think they do really important work. I have a little video clip here for you, so have fun with it. We can't see you in person at the fundraiser this year, so this will have to do. I hope you enjoy, have a great time, and I hope you love spiders.
Ants, bees, butterflies, moths, all 6 legs. Dragonflies, damselflies, 6 legs. Insects, head, thorax, abdomen, insects. Now, we're going to look at something with 8 legs. 8 legs means it's spider time.
Spiders. I love spiders. Cephalothorax, abdomen, so their head and their thorax are smushed together. So the insect had a head, a thorax, abdomen, 3 separate parts. Spiders have these 2 body parts. They also have venom. This is kind of a cool adaptation. So when they want to eat something, they envenomate it and turn the insides to liquid, and they suck it down like a smoothie, a delicious smoothie. They have eyes on the top of their carapace, but they can't really see that well. If I put my hand over the eyes, it sort of shields the light. So they can kind of tell when it's light and it's dark. 8 legs, of course, and arachnids. They are soft-bodied on the outside. The insects have that exoskeleton. Now, spiders do have an exoskeleton, but it's not as hard as an insect's exoskeleton. So if it's a terrestrial spider and it were to fall to the ground, its abdomen could literally pop open. So we're going to take you live with a spider of mine that I've had for many years, and we're going to get an up-close look with a tarantula.
Now, right here in my hand, I don't recommend that everybody do this, is a Chilean rose. It's a very docile tarantula, very beautiful. She's been great. I've had her for many years. She's done many programs, so she's used to being held. So when you go outside, don't pick up a spider. It's best to get a shot with a camera or with your iPhone. look at them as close as you can without interfering with them or harming them.
Tarantulas are a type of arthropod. Arthropods are invertebrates, meaning they do not have a backbone like us. They have an exoskeleton, a segmented body, and jointed legs. Tarantulas are often quite hairy like this one. The one you are looking at is a Chilean rose, and I am teasing some silk out of her. The silk is coming out of her spinnerets and is actually several strands of silk. The hairs on her abdomen are called urticating hairs. She can flick the hairs off of her abdomen to protect herself if she feels threatened. The hairs have barbs on them and can be quite painful to the animal that might be bothering her. Here's a couple of more cool photographs of my friend Rosie. Let's travel around the world.
This millipede comes all the way from Africa. Some people call them a chocolate millipede. It becomes the largest millipede species on planet Earth. Now, why am I talking about millipedes in Africa? Well, millipedes don't just occur in Africa. They're all over the planet. And millipedes are what are known as decomposers. Now, decomposers are very important for the environment. You have plant material that drops from trees. It could be rotting fruit. It could be leaves that fall off. They have to be cleaned up. So decomposers basically chew on all of that dead stuff, the plant material that nobody else wants to eat, and it turns it back into nutrients for other plants to grow. So decomposers aerate the soil. They break down all of that stuff that nobody else wants to eat. They are very important critters. Millipedes.
This millipede crawling on my hand is a type of arthropod. Arthropods have jointed legs. She has 216 jointed legs and would need 108 pairs of sneakers to cover all of her feet. The African millipede can grow to over a foot long. The longest one ever recorded was 15.2 inches long. That's a big bug. I love watching how the millipede moves. Notice how it uses its antenna to sense its way around. One of them moving, the other one sitting perfectly still. I feel really lucky to be able to handle and learn about creatures such as this giant millipede. It's tickling my hand right now, but each little tickle is a reminder of all the things that we can learn from the special creatures that roam planet Earth. Hope you had a great time, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks again for taking a peek at these beautiful bugs.
Hi guys, my name is Melissa. I'm one of the wildlife rehabilitators here at Woodlands Wildlife Refuge. Woodlands is a nonprofit wildlife rehab facility located in Hunterdon County. We have permits to rehabilitate mammals and reptiles here, and we wanted to share one of our educational animals with you today. So here he is. His name is Tank. He's one of our oldest educational animals. We estimate that he's at least 30 years old, if not older than that. But box turtles can live even longer than that, so he's probably only about middle-aged right now. Tank is with us because, unfortunately, he was taken from the wild and kept as a pet by the general public for many years before he was surrendered. So as you can tell, he is very friendly and habituated. So that is one of the reasons that he can't be released. The other reason is that we actually don't know where they took him from. So because box turtles live in such a small habitat, they actually only live in about a quarter-mile radius their entire lives, we can't just release them anywhere. So unless we know exactly where they came from, that alone makes them unreleasable. So that is a mystery with Tank. But as you can tell, he is also very friendly and unafraid, and would not do well in the wild. The other reason that he can't be released, or why it's bad to move turtles to different habitats, is so that they aren't spreading diseases. So that's something to keep in mind too. If you find a turtle and you want to help it across the road, that's great. Make sure you can do so safely, but also always move them in the direction that they were headed. So the direction that they're facing. Otherwise, they're going to try to cross that road all day long, and the threat of getting hit will still be there. If you do find an injured animal, please feel free to give us a call. We are happy to help. Again, we have permits for mammals and reptiles here. Our telephone number is 908-730-8300. And Tank and I usually come to outreach events throughout the spring and summer. Because we can't do that at the moment, we thought that we would make this fun little video for you. So Tank's favorite food in the entire world is worms. And he gets at least one every single day. And he always goes for the worm first. And there he is, checking himself out in the camera. So again, we hope to see you soon. If you have any questions, feel free to follow us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Wild Rehab, or give us a call at 908-730-8300. Hope you have a great day. Bye.
All right, follow me on inside and we're gonna go check out what the Raptor Trust Infirmary looks like. Here we're entering our infirmary admit room. This is where some of the birds make their first stop before evaluation. Then into here, this is our commissary. This area houses some refrigerators, some food storage. We're going to move forward here to our microscopy lab. It's just a small room under the stairs, but we get a lot done with that microscope. It's really great for diagnostics. Here we're going to walk back to our exam room. This is our exam room, and this serves as the area where we do our full evaluations and are able to begin treatments for many of the birds in care. Following through this exam room, we're going to walk back to our recovery area. This is where we house many of the birds that are currently in care. And this is for the adult birds typically, not so many of the babies, except for those ICUs that are behind me. Birds come in for a variety of reasons, including cats, window strikes, car accidents, getting caught in netting and fishing line. Moving back here though, we've got some ICUs set up for baby birds, and this is the area where we keep the smallest of baby goslings and ducklings that are brought to us for care. Usually these are birds that have been separated from the parent. People find them as singlets all alone. We match them up with other ducks, other birds of the same size, and then we house them together so they can grow up as a family. Here you can see they've got a little bit of duckweed floating in their water, some pellets, and even a stuffed animal. Here we're going to circle back around into our nursery. Here in our nursery, it's just about feeding time. So I'm going to invite you to watch as I hand feed some of our young grackles and robins. Now that all 4 of these birds have been fed, they're going to be moved into clean nest boxes. Because this is the last feeding of the night, I'm going to nestle them all together. And cover them up until daytime. We feed those babies at least once an hour every hour. And here we have our upstairs area. This is where some of the adult songbirds are kept. Here it's a little bit quieter. Each of those adult songbirds has their own enclosure there so that they're not stressed. And here is the upstairs infirmary area. This is our critical care wing where we house most of our raptors. Here you can see a variety of medications and medical supplies. Of course, a sink is always necessary. When you're working with wild animals, there is always a mess to be cleaned up. And a little sneak peek here, some of our more sensitive birds are brought upstairs for hand feeding. So here we have some baby finches, and those are growing up really quickly. So you can come see our surgery suite. This is the surgery. It is actually in a trailer outside of our infirmary. So it stays nice and clean. It's its own separate area. And it is state-of-the-art, brand new. This is a wonderful surgery suite. And there you can see some radiographs up on the screen. That is from a bone pinning that had just been done. There was a really severe fracture there, and we were able to realign it. Dr. Norton was able to pin it, line up the fracture really nicely so that wing is able to heal properly. Without that surgery, there's no way that bird could heal on its own and be released. So here we've got a little bit more footage of that raptor care room right after it was finished. So you saw me walking around there when we had some birds in it, but this was taken just after this room had been renovated, redesigned. It is amazing. These updates are fantastic. These cages are huge. They've got amazing lighting. They've got ventilation. We even have these really, really cool double cages where we're going to show you right now. There is a movable wall on the interior. So if we have a bird on one side and we want to handle it as little as possible, we can actually go ahead and slide that board, allow the bird to move into the next enclosure, and then we can go ahead and clean that original enclosure without having to handle the bird or stress them. So this is just a wonderful addition. This whole area was renovated. It looks beautiful. And these are some shots when it was perfectly clean before we had birds come in this spring that, of course, needed to be housed up there almost immediately.
Oh, the little birdies down on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin going tweet, 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 rockin' robin, rockin' robin. We'll blow rockin' robin 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight. There's so many songs about birds.
Hello and welcome to the baby bird feeding room here at the Raptor Trust. Every bird in this room is a nestling that was brought to us. Most of them had fallen out of their nests or were orphaned. We have a mix of mockingbirds, robins, blue jays, chickadees, all kinds of songbirds in this room. They're not quite at their fledgling stage where they can learn how to self-feed out of bowls and kind of fine-tune their flying abilities. They're really small here. But every hour of the day, our staff is feeding these baby birds, and we'd like to show you a little bit of what that looks like. Enjoy. Here at the Raptor Trust, we see lots of baby birds, from teeny tiny ones to ones that look older than their years, from really irritated ones to sweet snuggly ones. Every late spring and summer, our room is full of all of these birds: blue jays, robins, grackles, chickadees, chimney swifts. You name it, we've got them. We do our very best to make sure that we can replicate what they would eat in the wild with their parents. So blue jays, robins, grackles, mockingbirds, they all get a special fledge mix mixed with chopped fruit. And that fledge mix was actually pioneered by one Diane Susi, one of the founders of the Raptor Trust. She put years, a lot of time into making sure that these birds received all the nutrients they need to get strong and return back into the wild. The wrens, chickadees, and chimney swifts, for instance, get a special formula through a syringe when they're younger, and then as they get older and stronger, they get dead bugs. Ducklings and goslings get pellets, chopped greens, and grass as they would in the wild, except for the pellets, of course. And the raptors get chopped mice or quail, depending on the species. And as you can see with this baby great horned owl, they love it. Many species of birds create strong bonds with their parents and stay in the family unit for a long time. This fish crow, for instance, a member of the corvid family, very intelligent creatures, needs a special way to be fed. And as you can see in this video, we have used a proxy mom to help feed him. Oftentimes we're lucky, and we have resident birds that act as members of the staff. For instance, mourning dove Violet often takes over the care of many young mourning doves that arrive here at the Raptor Trust. Orphan baby birds comprise the largest number of patients we receive during the spring and summer. While they generally require very little medical treatment, they require frequent feeding, cleaning, warmth, and time to grow, and they stay here for several weeks until they're ready to return to the wild. So for now, we hope you enjoy all of the content, and we hope that you'll consider bidding on an item in our silent auction to help us raise money to take care of even more baby birds this summer. Thanks so much.
Hi everybody, my name is Heather and I'm one of the educators at the Raptor Trust. Today I'm coming to you not from our classroom, but from my living room where I'm going to show you how to do one of my favorite projects. So I've been doing embroidery for a couple years now, and for this video I've decided to do a northern gannet onto a t-shirt. So northern gannets are really cool ocean birds. They're not a bird we see every year in the infirmary, but this year we've actually seen 4 of them. They're very large, very loud seabirds, and I thought they would be a really fun thing to try for this project. Now, if you'd like to get started with embroidery and you've never done it before, you need to first get a couple of supplies. So the first is you need something to sew onto. If you can pull a needle and thread, you can do into a piece of fabric, you can do embroidery. So you're first going to need the fabric. For me, it was a t-shirt. You could do a hat, a backpack, you could do a piece of fabric, and I'll show you an example of how to mount that at the end if that's what you choose to do. Next, you're going to need an embroidery hoop. So I have this one right here. It's a 3-inch hoop. I find this to be the perfect size for me, but you can, they come in all sorts of sizes and you can use whatever you want. Next, you're going to need a pair of embroidery scissors, or actually any pair of scissors will do. You'll need a extra fine felt tip marker for transferring your design onto your fabric. A pencil will also work if you're using a lighter fabric, but for me this bright blue was too dark for me to use a pencil. They do sell special pens that you can use for embroidery and it washes away at the end, but I find that the Sharpie works just fine for me. Finally, you're going to need your thread. So thread comes in little spools. I've wound mine onto these little paper holders. Keeps them a little bit more organized for me, but you can get this very inexpensively at your favorite craft retailer, or I got a pack of 100 colors on Amazon for about $7. So once you've gathered your materials, we can go ahead and get started and create our Northern Gannet t-shirt. Alright, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to gather your supplies. So in order to do embroidery, you first need a piece of fabric. I've decided I'm going to use this blue t-shirt, which I think will go really nicely with the Gannet's eyes. You need a hoop. This will provide tension and it will allow you to keep your design flat so you don't get any buckling in it. You need a fine tipped Sharpie, so this is extra fine. This will allow us to make a really thin line to transfer the image onto the fabric. They also have special pens if you prefer that are more washable, or you could use a pencil if you're using a light fabric. And then you need the colors. So I picked a Gannet because it didn't have a lot of colors. You can get these at Michael's, Joann's, Amazon, whatever your favorite online craft retailer is. And these are the colors that I picked for the Gannet. So we've got a gray, we've got a black, orangey beigeish, a white, and a couple different blues for its eye. Now finally, you need an image. So to do that, I've used this picture of a Gannet that was in care at the Raptor Trust. This guy was taken right before he was transported to our collaborators at Tri-State, and we're going to use him as our model today. So the first thing you need to do is you need to put your hoop into position on your fabric. So if you're using something that doesn't have position, then you can just put it wherever you want, as long as you have about an inch of border around. This will keep it tight and allow you to finish the design at the end. I like to put the piece with the tightener in the back and then put the inner piece on the outside of the t-shirt. This allows me to have a nice flat surface so that I can transfer the design. So you're going to want this to be really tight. So I'm pulling it. It will leave a little kink in the fabric, but once you wash it or iron it, then it goes away. So you're going to tighten that as tight as you can possibly get it, and make sure that you've got a lot of tension on your fabric. So you can see I've got a nice straight surface. The fabric isn't bent or wavy. That's going to create a little bit of a bend in it. And then you're going to take your image. We'll provide this image for you, and you're going to want to turn the brightness on your cell phone all the way up so that you can see it. So I'm using a 3-inch hoop here today. It's not very big, but it's big enough for what I want to do. I'm just going to do this guy's head. So on my side, I can see through the fabric and see the design of the bird, and I'm just going to trace it. And you don't want to make a lot of really thick lines because then you're gonna you might see it when you're done. That's why we're using a really fine tip. So here I've transferred the design. You can see there's the outline of our gannet's head, and we're gonna start sewing it. So something that I find really helpful for me is I will actually trace the direction of the feathers onto the bird, kind of give me guidelines to make sure that my bird doesn't come out looking flat, but looks like it might have a little bit of dimension. So all of this area is going to be black, and then I want the direction of the feathers to kind of go like this, so I'm just going to trace little guidelines, and this will help me later to make sure my stitches are going in the right direction. So these lines will just help me keep track of what I'm doing. So you can see I just traced them sort of like that. Those are not going to show up in our final image, but they will help us give our bird a little bit more dimension. So I forgot to mention at the beginning, you also need a needle. So these are just regular needles, any size that you can find is going to work just fine. So I keep that in the collar here to keep it safe for my fingers. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the beak. I usually start with the eyes and the beak when I do this. It helps me to picture what this bird is going to look like at the end. So I'm using embroidery floss. I think I got this one at Michael's, but you can again get it wherever you want. So embroidery floss is usually 6 strings tied together. So I try and make about a 12 to 18 inch piece. Any longer than that, and I tend to just get it tied in a knot. So we're going to cut that piece, and then we're going to separate it. So we don't want all 6 pieces. This is going to make it look really chunky. If you're trying to do a really detailed area, some of the like whiskery looking feathers, then I'll switch down to 1 piece of thread, but for most of it I use 2. So you can see it's already getting tangled a little bit here, so that's why we keep it nice and short. So then you're going to thread your needle. And then I like to tie a knot at the end to keep it straight. When I'm doing a beak, I try to make both of the pieces individually, and if we meet in the middle, then it's going to give us a nice defining line. It's got the top piece, a middle, and then a bottom. So I'm gonna have them each meet, and then I'm gonna put the black lines in afterwards. So the stitch we're gonna do for this is called a satin stitch. And the reason is it sort of looks like satin after you're done. So really easy, just start it in the back. So we've got our little knot there, and just keep going back and forth. This is the easiest stitch to do. It's just a typical sewing stitch. So I want to make sure I'm going up over my black line at the top so that we cover it, because I don't want that to be seen when I'm done, because I did use a Sharpie. It will not wash away. And this actually didn't have quite enough tension in it. It was a little floppy, so I'm just going to go around the edge and pull it tight again. And that happens as you pull on it. It's going to keep doing that, so just keep checking your tension. So to tie off, this is just like a regular sewing, if you've ever sewn before, but you're gonna go under a couple. I'm gonna actually go over that big knot that I made because it's a huge mess, and then under the threads that did work, you're gonna wrap the free edge around your needle a couple times just to hold it, and then you're going to pull it through, and then use your scissors and cut it off. So because I made this enormous mess, I'm just going to go over that area a little bit when I add my next thread. Alright, Alright, so while my battery was charging there, I went ahead and finished the first part of the beak. And you can see I've got a little bit of a buckle right there. It's kind of folding, and that's because I didn't have the tension tight enough. But hopefully when we add the rest of the stitching, it'll kind of work itself out. So you can see I've done a satin stitch all the way across the top part of the beak. And I'm just going to repeat that exact same process over the next 3 sections. This middle piece and this bottom one. I'm going to do that off camera. Okay, so I've gone ahead and finished the beak. You can see I've got 3 lines there that are a little bit separated. It looks a little bit uneven, but that's okay because we're going to go through and we're going to add black to that after we do the eye. So the eye is a little bit of a challenge, so I'm going to show you how to do that up close. Okay, so I've picked a light blue, and the color I used for this is 3766. Now what we're going to do is we're going to outline the edge of the eye using what's called a back stitch. And you can see that I have a little guest here who has joined me. His little feet are in the frame, sorry about that. So to do this, we're going to go just inside the black line that we made for the eye. And we're going to go in a circle. And then we're going to come up on a little bit away from where we did the last stitch. So you can hopefully, if I can get that in focus, see that there's a bit of a gap. We're going to come up through, and then we're going to go back right up against where the previous stitch was. So it's going to create a little, like a dotted line around where the eye is. So we're just going to go around the whole eye and do that. You can see I've got a little dashed line around the outside of the eye. So the next step is we're going to go back to doing a satin stitch, and we're going to go from the top corner and just make and go on the outside of all of the stitches we just did. And what this is going to do is give our eye some nice shape to it. That's what the inside stitches are doing. And then fill it in with the satin stitch, which is the stitch we used to make the beak. So you can see the eye is completely covered over, so once you're done with that, you can tie it off in the back. So next we're gonna make the pupil. You're gonna just pull a little bit of black thread out. You don't need very much for this. Once again, separate it into sets of 2. Now this is called a French knot, and this is a stitch that I tend to have a lot of trouble with. But basically you're going to come up a little bit below the center. You're going to wrap it around like you're going to make a knot. And then you're going to go close to where you came out of. Now this is the hard part. You want to hold this knot straight and pull your thread through. If we look at this guy, we can see that he has a little bit of blue surrounding his eye as well. So I'm just going to use a slightly different shade. For that I'm going to use 3846. And we're going to just outline the corners of the eye. Actually just outline the whole eye with that color. Pretty subtle difference, but it's the little things. And so for that, I'm going to use sort of a mix of a satin stitch and a little bit of a back stitch just to try and make it blend pretty nicely. I'm not going to try and do the full satin like I did on the beak. I just added a little bit of blue around the eye. It's a little bit subtle, but hopefully when we start adding in the black and the white, we'll be able to see the differences because it does blend in pretty well with the shirt. Alright, and now to finish the face off, we're going to fill in the gaps between the different parts of the beak, as well as outline the beak in black to make it have those really nice clear lines that the gannet has on its face. So I went through and added the black outlining. You can see I got all around his beak, about half of his eye, and then a little bit of a chin strap there. Now I think in the previous segment I said I was going to do a satin stitch, but I actually ended up doing a bunch of overlapping back stitches because I didn't really leave myself enough room to do a full satin stitch between the two levels of the gray, and that seemed to work just fine. Now we're going to add some of the white. So if you remember from our picture, he's got a white around his eye, around his beak, and then it turns into sort of an orangey color. So I'm going to be doing that white stitching just directly around his face. But this stitch is going to apply for the whole the whole rest of the bird and all the feathers. So remember we drew all those guidelines, so we're going to follow those. We're going to come up right around the black. We're going to go just on the outside of that black line for the ones on the edges so that we can make sure we don't see the black. And then just keep doing that in sort of the direction of the lines that you drew. Now you might notice I'm making these different sizes. I'm making them sort of far apart, and that's because I don't want it to look like a satin stitch. So I'm just making them wherever I feel like it, basically, so that it has more of a overlapping and less uniform area, which will make it look more like feathers and less like the beak area that we made. Alright, so you can see that I've gone through and added all of the white stitching to the bird. You can see that I used the direction of the stitches to imply the direction of the feathers. So it doesn't have that flat look that we put in the beak, and it gives a different texture and makes it look like it's a different part of the animal. So I also left jagged edges around the white. I didn't make it perfectly flat, and this is going to help when we blend in the creamier color, which I'm using 3823. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to add all of the creamy colors in around the rest of this bird's head. I might add a little bit more white into the edges to make it a little bit more blended, but that's really the last step here in making your northern gannet head. So as you can see, I went ahead and finished this by adding in the beige around the outside. He kind of looks like an albino penguin, but that's okay. I'm still pretty happy with how it came out. Because I put this on a t-shirt, the way to finish it is just going to be to take it out of the hoop and then iron it with a wet cloth over it so that I don't destroy the stitches that I did. If you would like another option, you can do it like my sister did, which is to put it in this hoop. So this is a turkey vulture named Barf, that's why it says that in the corner, and she just went ahead and bunched the fabric at the back and glued on some felt, which makes it a really nice hanging piece for my wall that I usually have up.
Raptor Trust Kestrel release in the Great Swamp National Wildlife Refuge. 3, 2, 1, fly away! Hey, thanks for joining us for our 5th annual Raptor Trust Community Day in May, our first annual online event by necessity. We hope you enjoyed the content that we were able to bring you today, some behind the scenes looks in the infirmary and some of the birds we're caring for and feeding and medical procedures, a fun craft with Heather, an auction. Hopefully you won or at least bid on an exciting item, maybe a great piece of art or a small gift basket. But we do really appreciate your support. We had a fun time putting this all together, and even though you could not be there with us in person and we did not have the great backyard at the Sterling Hotel to have hundreds and hundreds of people in attendance as we have in the past, we did it in our virtual community. It was the best we could do. We're making do in tough times, and I know you are too. Thanks again for your support. We really appreciate it. We know that you care as much as we do about the animals that we're taking care of at the Raptor Trust, and we could not do it without your support. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.